What do you remember about those early days attempting to write the screenplay for Chasing 3000? I realized it had a different name.
Just how painfully lonely it was to write in my basement, you know, and how removed I was from Hollywood, you know, and how difficult it was for me to get people to read what I was doing. And you know, that's you know, I enjoyed writing. I really I like to write, and I do like. I'm kind of I don't know, because the film doesn't maybe really hit on that, but I was a little bit of a loner growing up, and you know, with a brother who's disabled, and many times he's sick, and you know, your parents are at the hospital. You learn just to fend for yourself, and you also learn. You know, you're with yourself, so you learn to you're kind of in your own head. And I think what I didn't realize, I think it was Robert McKee who articulated it, that most writers, what we have in common is that we get fractured in our life, and we start to see things two ways. There's something that happens in our life that we get somehow fractured. And so even as a kid, I would see things like something that would maybe be very painful. I would be experiencing the pain, and then I would be saying to myself, oh, this is kind of interesting, this pain, and you know, the faces of my parents. And so what I didn't realize is that all writers have that as part of who they are. And so I don't know where I'm going with this, except
No, I love it.
Other than
It's great.
that, you know, I will say this in reverse. Getting the movie made was very stressful. Making an independent movie is very stressful, and the stumbling blocks, the roadblocks, the money problems that come. And sometimes I would get off of a phone call, and I'd, you know, seek out my wife, and I would just say, this, you know, this is, you know, the trouble that I'm dealing with today. And she would listen to me, and then she would say, well, what would you rather do? What would you rather have? Would you rather be writing downstairs and have no one read your scripts, or would you rather be dealing with this? And I said, I'd rather be dealing with this. Okay, then deal with it.
Sure.
And life, you know, that's an interesting perspective. It would bring me back to reality of that. It's almost a blessing to be dealing with this incredible, you know, stress, you know, trying to get the bridge money, you know, because every independent movie falls short, and you have to get the bridge money, and we had to get the bridge money in order to finish the film. And then you have, you know, you have to deliver the movie. You have an unbelievable list of things that you have to deliver to the distributor, and the insurance, and the rights, and the contracts. It's just, it can be overwhelming, but it's, you know, it's not easy. You know, I've said before, I like that line from it's a song by AC/DC. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. There's a line that says, I tell you folks, it's harder than it looks.
Sure, sure.
And filmmaking is a lot harder than it looks.
Right, yeah, those are great lyrics.
Right?
Would you say the bar exam? Because not everybody passes the bar.
No, bar exam's tough.
Uh-huh.
There are a lot of things tough in life, but what's interesting is that everything I've ever did in my life prepared me then for my film. I sold for a living. I sold 4 years in radio. And so I learned to pitch. You have to be a salesman, right? I mean, a lot of writers struggle with that. A lot of writers struggle with, they're very good writers, but they're not very good at pitching. In fact, it's very common. I was able to, I think I'm pretty good at pitching my story, but I learned as a salesman, right, how to how to sell. You have to sell your screenplay. As an attorney, right, you learn to negotiate, and then as a writer, you as the creative side. But all of those three components in my life helped me get the movie made.
Now, you said something earlier about the loneliness of being in your basement writing. Is it almost like a bittersweet thing, though? Because this is a story that is very important to you.
Yeah.
So you're there, but you said you're used to being alone. Is there something that's almost like this is medicine to be down there doing that?
Yeah, there's a little. Yeah, the writing can be cathartic, and there is some element about that, but the more you do it, and then the more rejection you get, it becomes painful for writers, right? It's a very painful experience that all writers have of writing, and it's almost like your child, right? You love this thing that you've created, and that others don't see it that way. And so, yeah, writing can be lonely, right? I mean, I enjoyed it more when I learned writing with a partner was really refreshing when we rewrote Chasing 3000. But I think being disconnected from Hollywood that far away was the most painful part. Because
if you live here, it might be more painful to be here at times, but yeah.
No, it is. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand. I have friends that will tell me that, and I have a friend where I came in and I had like 3 meetings, and I said it's pretty good contacts for a guy who lives in Cincinnati, and he goes, those are good contacts for somebody who lives in LA.
Sure.
And so I was, I was lucky to develop good contacts. I had a writing consultant named Doni Nelson. Doni, she worked in the industry for years, and she became a writing consultant. And I forget how I met her, but for years she was my writing consultant, and she also was able to get me contacts of people. And so she wasn't an agent, so to speak, but she helped me, especially for someone who was out, and she had a lot of clients, and she said, of all my clients who live outside of LA, you're the only one who flies into LA to take meetings. And so that's also expensive, right? It's time consuming. And, but that was what I was willing to do.
And did you share any drafts with your brother?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Steve would read my screenplays, and he read Chasing 3000. Absolutely. Yeah.
He was in Utah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And he, absolutely. I mean, Steve was. Sorry.
That's okay. We can take a minute if you want.
Because I lost my brother recently. Steve died about 18 months ago.
Sorry.
And I often say, he was my greatest ally. And one of the things I learned in making the movie is when things went bad, when things went wrong, everyone runs for cover. And as the filmmaker, you're like sort of left by yourself. And Steve was the only one who didn't run.
Yeah, and you see that in the relationship in the movie. And again, I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah,
but
it's real.
interesting.
I often say, sometimes in life, we just, you're just in the foxhole, being bombarded, crying for your mother, and that's all you can do. You just, but some people run, and Steve stayed in the foxhole with me, and toughed out those really difficult times to get this movie finished.